Now, a new row has broken out between the US and China over the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic. This after the FBI director, Christopher Wray, confirmed on Tuesday that the agency had decided that the origin of the pandemic was, and I quote, most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. Now, the coronavirus was first identified in the Chinese city in 2019, and it is home to a virology lab that conducted research into coronaviruses. Beijing has rejected these claims and is accusing Washington of hurting its own credibility. And for more, we're joined now by our senior science correspondent, Derek Williams. Derek, do these claims by US agencies suggest that more is known about the origins of COVID-19 now than, let's say, just a week ago?
No, not really. I mean, the FBI has believed for quite a while, actually, that in this lab leak theory, we just received confirmation of it from the director. But on the other hand, four other intelligence community agencies within the U.S. have said that they believe that actually it was a naturally occurring event, so a spillover event, this zoonotic transmission, possibly via an animal host in one of the wet markets of Wuhan. So there's not any real clear unity in terms of the messaging, and also the FBI and also the Department of Energy, which has also come out with a low confidence rating for the lab leak theory. They're not providing any of their data, so it's really kind of impossible to say. We're not really any closer. To answer your question, we're not really any closer than we were last week to knowing more about it. It'll be interesting for me to see in the coming days and weeks what those other agencies say, if they also do an about-face on the topic, because you would assume, obviously, that the FBI would at least share the information with them.
So does that mean, then, that we're not really likely to ever know how the pandemic started?
I think that it's looking more and more difficult. It has been for a while. If you think of Wuhan, which is, as far as we know, was the origin of the pandemic, if you think of that as an investigative scene, the trail has grown pretty cold by now. I mean, we're going on more than 3 years, and without cooperation from China, it's just going to get colder and colder. So ultimately, it would have been, even if we'd gone in straight away, it would have been a tough job scientifically to figure out exactly what had happened. And 3 years down the road, I think it's the next best thing, actually, to impossible. And with the current political situation with China, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Now, we know that the number of institutes working with potentially dangerous pathogens is increasing. Can you tell us what safeguards are in place to regulate their activities?
Well, very few and really not enough. The number of high-security biological sites that are working with things like dangerous pathogens has ballooned in the last years and decades, and there are dozens of them all over the world, and there are no real clear international standards, and there's very, very little transparency about the kind of work that's often going on within those labs. So we desperately really need international standards and international transparency, because even if it turns out, I think in the long run, that this lab leak theory is incorrect, if we are ever able to determine that, that doesn't mean that the next pathogen down the road might not come from some lab somewhere doing this kind of research. So we really need the oversight.
That sounds quite worrying. Derek Williams from DW Science, thank you so much.